You know, as one of the owners of the Green Bay Packers, you too can be a fellow owner of the Green Bay Packers for $400 as well. My share costs a little less than the Rooneys did for theirs. First of all, Bill Schuster, where did Bill go? Bill Schuster, thank you so much. This guy is a workhorse in Congress, getting big things done, huge transportation bill. He just passed an enormous piece of legislation the other day on aviation, FAA reauthorization bill. I see some of my other friends in Congress here. First of all, let me introduce my much better half. My wife Janet is here with me. And I see we've got in our delegation here, we've got the new bionic shoulder man, Tom Marino, is here with us. We've got my buddy from the Ways and Means Committee, who really does know how to block. That is Mike Kelly. And I know GT Thompson, I don't know where GT is sitting, but GT Thompson. Oh, there you're right in front of me. She's looking over here. GT Thompson is here with us. I haven't seen Lou yet, but I'm told Lou Barletta is here as well. Is here. I know Keith Rothfuss is here. Talk about a workhorse. And then my old buddy from the Ways and Means Committee, I'm told Phil English is here as well. And it's great. Phil, where are you going? Great seeing you, Phil. And I want to thank Rob Gleason. I've been running around this country working on our party, working on our agenda, making sure that we elect our team. And we are only as strong as our party is strong. And I've got to tell you, this is a strong Republican Party here in Pennsylvania, and I think we all owe Rob Gleason a big debt of gratitude. All right, so you're a pretty big delegation. 20 electoral votes, that's 10 more than we have. Guess what? You could make the decision on this. You could decide this whole thing, Pennsylvania. And let me try to explain what we see and what we're trying to do about it in Congress. We see a country that I think we all see, which is not heading in the right direction. We see a country where our fellow citizens, 7 out of 10 of them, think this country is headed in the wrong direction. We know it's going in the wrong direction. And so the question in these kinds of moments, in these kinds of times, are what are you going to do about it? We thought it was really important, as House Republicans, as conservatives, that it wasn't enough just to complain. We will not win an election by default. We will not win an election by just saying how bad the Obama years were and let's just win by default. We will win an election if we give this country a really clear choice. We will win this election if Americans going to the polls in November see I can go and stay on the same path that I'm on, or the Republicans are offering a better way. They're offering a clear choice. And so this is what we have been working on all year long. We see ourselves in the House as sort of the engine room, the workhorses. We're sort of in the bowels of the ship, the Republican Party, shoveling coal into the furnace. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with coal. We see ourselves shoveling coal in the furnace and actually adding a keel and a rudder to this thing so we can give some substance and some direction. And so we spent all year long, the members of the delegation, all of us in January said, we've got to have an agenda. And so we took a look at the big problems facing this country, and then we went to work. And we went to work and we rolled out an agenda just a few weeks ago. Number one, we saw that in this country, there are tens and tens of millions of people, of able-bodied people, slipping through the cracks in this country. We just finished the anniversary of the 50-year war on poverty. And guess what? The poverty rates are around the same as they were when we started this thing 50 years ago. Trillions of dollars spent. All these new government programs created. And you take a look at it in totality, and we're basically paying people not to work. Our welfare system has become a work replacement system, not a work encouragement system. And as a result, those tens of millions of people who we don't even count in our unemployment statistics anymore, they are missing out on their version of the American idea. They are not reaching their potential, and we are missing out on their talents. And so we have tackled this issue, and we have a plan not only go after breaking the cycle of poverty, trying to fight this thing thoroughly and fundamentally, but we think there's a better way to get people from welfare to work, get people back in this economy, and that is something we're going to take on. We want to make sure that everybody in this country can realize the American idea. The American idea is a really simple idea. Remember, the condition of your birth does not determine the outcome of your life. Where you start does not determine where you end. That's what Second, you see it just turn on TV every other hour, and the world is on fire. I mean, it is getting really serious. We all know it. We're all very anxious about our security, not just our security in our communities, but our security on our border, our security in the world. We don't have a foreign policy today. What we have today, I really wouldn't call a policy. We've got foreign policy phoning it in. We've got leading from behind. We've got threats getting bigger and closer. And so we have put out a very comprehensive 67 points. You go read it online at better.gop. We have focused on what do we need to do to actually reclaim national security. How do you actually secure the border? How do you actually fix the military? What does a doctrine to go on offense against ISIS look like? How do you combat the radical Islamic jihad ideology? What do you do to make sure that our military gets what they need? And how do you actually honor the veterans with the health care that they actually were promised? That is something that we think we have to do in this administration that's coming forward. The next two issues are a big deal to us, because if you take a look at our economies, look, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are very, very similar. We're workers, we're manufacturers, we love hunting deer. We probably eat a little more cheese than you do. But we are very similar cultures, very similar states. And if you take a look at what's going on in businesses these days, if you ask entrepreneurs and manufacturers what's plaguing the most, they'll tell you two things: regulations and taxes. The regulatory state is just coming unglued. It's a leviathan. And so we have put out a very comprehensive plan to fix the way our regulations work so that we stop injecting so much uncertainty into our businesses so that they can stop worrying about Washington and worry about actually hiring and growing and taking risks. But the point that I want to make is even bigger than that, which is this. One of the animating principles that built this country that's so important is self-determination. Government by consent. Our Constitution is really, really clear on this. And this is where the progressives go off the charts. They just abandon the whole founding vision. We want to govern ourselves, and so we elect people like G.T. Thompson, like Mike Kelly, like Keith Ross's, like Tom Marino. We elect people like Schuster. And we send them to go write laws, and we live under those laws. That's the whole idea. Article 1 of the Constitution spells it out. Then Article 2 of the Constitution says, and then the administration executes those laws faithfully. They don't write laws. They implement the laws that we, through our elected representatives, write. How many think that's happening these days? No way. We are losing self-government. We are losing government by consent. We have seen rise of this new fourth branch of government of unelected bureaucrats effectively writing our laws. I got a buddy I grew up with, Janesville, Wisconsin, kindergarten through 12th grade. He went on to fly Black Hawk helicopters in the Army for 20 years. Got out of the Army, then he retired and he took his securities exam. Now he sells life insurance and helps families get ready for 401ks, save for the kids' college retirement for a company called Mass Mutual. Everybody's well-known company. This is what he does for a living. His employer is now telling him, because of a regulation coming out of the Labor Department, called the fiduciary rule. Those of us in Congress know all about this. He's basically going to lose his business. He's going to lose 90% of his clients because of a regulation coming out of Washington. This veteran served our country, learned a new skill, started a small business, took a lot of risks, is helping families save for the future. And a regulation coming out of the Labor Department is basically effectively putting them out of business. I didn't vote for that. I'm his congressman. This is getting out of control. So we have a very comprehensive solution. 32 state legislatures do this. When a bureaucrat kicks a regulation out of a regulatory agency that basically rewrites our laws, tells us how to live our lives, micromanages our businesses and our economy, that thing's got to go back through Congress for a final vote, approval, and amendment before it goes into effect. So we're restoring the Article many of you know that we're not for Obamacare? All right. We need to show you what we would replace it with, and that's exactly what we have done. It took us about 6 years. But now we have consensus on what a true patient-centered healthcare system looks like. What a system where we, along with our doctor, are making the choices, not some distant bureaucracy rationing and price-controlling healthcare. So we've showed you what that kind of entitlement reform looks like that pays down the debt. We have showed you what patient-centered healthcare looks like. And the last but not least is this tax code has got to go. Mike Kelly and all those folks in the Ways and Means Committee have done a brilliant job showing us what a tax code that is clean and simple, an IRS that is not intrusive, and what it looks like by fitting it on a postcard. Taking our tax rates down, letting us keep more of our money, simplifying the system. Look, overseas, which where I come from means Lake Superior, we tax our businesses at such higher rates than our foreign competitors tax theirs. The Canadians are taxing their businesses at 15%. 8 out of 10 businesses in America file their taxes as people, as individuals. We call them subchapter S corporations or LLCs or partnerships. Their top effective tax rate is 44.6%. Just about every manufacturer in America is taxed like this. The big companies, like PPG, which has one of its biggest facilities in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 35%. No. England's going at 18, Ireland's at 12.5, Canada's at 15, like I said, China's at 25, and we're what, 35 to 45? How do you win in global competition like that? This is why we've got to rip this tax code up and start over and give this country a clean break in real tax. Guess what? Hillary Clinton doesn't agree with any of this stuff. Donald Trump does. Look, I know this was a tough primary, this is a tough election. This is a binary choice. It is Trump or Clinton. That's your choice. And guess what? We have shown we've got the guts. We have shown we're willing to put our necks out on the line. We have shown we're putting the specifics on the table and that we're giving the country a choice. One more point I want to make, because it's a new point that is worth making. A lot of us served with Mike Pence. A lot of us served with Mike Pence his entire time in Congress. This is a man out of a conservative movement. This is a man who really does know his principles. This is a man who has the courage of his convictions. I remember back in 2007, I think it was, when we were looking at the debt. We were looking at the administration, the Bush administration, not thinking our fiscal policy was going in the right direction. We were looking at the debt and the deficit, and we put out a big budget plan. About 8 of us supported it. Mike Pence is one of them. He was one of those people who wanted to put his neck on the line and fight for what it actually takes to balance the budget and pay off the debt. That's what I see in Mike Pence. So we have here a very, very good leader, a willing conservative, a knowledgeable conservative, a real Reagan-like happy warrior joining this ticket. And so I am excited that you're going to get to know Mike Pence, because those of us who served with him in these fights for the Constitution, for limited government, for economic freedom, for bringing people out of poverty and welfare to work, for fixing national security, he was a foreign relations guy in Congress. I'm really excited to see him join this ticket. So what I simply want to do, I know there's probably a few Philly fans in here, but don't get me started. Yeah, you guys are NFC. We will see you guys in the Super Bowl, all right, in January. AFC, NFC, Go Pack, and the other teams you guys like, all right? Thank you very much, you guys. Thanks a lot.